They say that if you're interested in archaeology of the desert Southwest, one interesting thing is at the edges of glacial lakes where the fresh water came in. And here's a glacial lake, here's the edge of it, and here's where the water comes in, here and here. The problem is that a lot of the lakeshore is covered with outwash from the surrounding hills, and it's just called the Bahada. And so the Bahada covers a lot of the glacial lakeshore, but I thought, if you could find a little hill that sticks up out of the Bahada, that maybe its surface would not have been covered over by silts, which is a reason I picked this place to go look, because it's a little hill not too far from the lakeshore. And I want to tell you some interesting things that I learned about the place. First of all, it's a hill with two summits, sort of shallow hill. And what would happen is that game, I don't know when this would be, but game would come down the valley, down along this water course, and when it got to about here, it would start to see its destination over there and say, oh, I want to go that way, and off it would go across the saddle of the hill. I want to tell you that on this little summit, there's a small cairn, and down here, about in this spot, there's a small stone U structure, which originally I thought the cairn and the U structure would be the kinds of things that you'd expect to see in the East as a kind of archaeoastronomy. But later on, I came to the conclusion that this was a hunter's blind down here, and that the purpose of the little cairn at this end was to discourage animals that are coming this way from going around the hill this side and steer them down this way. The prevailing winds blow down this valley and in that direction. And if you look at this from overhead, you can see pretty clearly the geology of the hill and these two paler paths across the hill. Now I want to tell you that this hill is composed of a harder material, which is why it's sticking up, and it's actually a very fine chert that stains darker and darker as desert varnish accumulates on it. So I was walking towards the hill, and I was noticing these darker patches of soil or earth, and it turns out that those are rock flakes. Those are stone tool debris. You won't believe it, but there's a lot of it everywhere. And the most intense stone tool debris in this entire valley is at this edge of the hill. Interestingly, here's a little spot that seems pretty well correlated with the game trail. Like, you kill the thing and then you butcher it down in here. So this place is extremely plausible as a site for hunting, but that wouldn't have necessarily been what was going on during the period when this glacial lake was a marsh and there were creatures big and small, mastodons, etc., roaming around. But it's a very interesting place, and as you scoot out, you notice some other places that might be worth exploring. Places where there's stains. This catches my eye right here. But even without that, there are some interesting looking places to explore in this valley, and the dark patches give you a very direct clue as to where there's more stuff. Well, this is just washed out along here. You can, for example, see in this view that, well, here's the little hill here, but you go over here and you start saying, well, that looks like there's a bunch of stuff lying on the ground right there. example. So this is a simple-minded tool for detecting archaeological sites. You just go overhead and you find the concentrations of debris, like right there. I'm going to go back because I'm curious about that. It's really interesting, the relationship to the little brooks that are coming down in here. It's a confluence of brooks coming down this valley, going by, filling into the glacial lake. So there's a lot more to explore here. And I want to just mention that you find a few broken and old stone tools in here. And if you try to find what they look like or compare them to anything, you go online and look for, stemmed point, crude stemmed point, something like that, or bladelet. You look for those words, and what comes up are very, very old sites from Europe. So you can't say that the people from Europe lived here in Nevada, but you can say that their designs, their minds, were obviously there, because there are those designs to be found. And also you can find Great Basin archaeology here in I think rather low density, but I'm not sure. So there you have it, an interesting place. The surrounding hills are full of caves, which somebody might want to take a look at. Too strenuous for me. But this aerial archaeology is a lot of fun.